Good morning, and thank you, Cedric. Good morning, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, viewers and listeners at home. Good morning. For this morning, I will be somewhat brief in my opening statements and or remarks, but of course I will be available for the remainder of the time. Minister Jacobs is in a meeting right now and advised me to let you know that she will be here at 10:30 approximately, so bear with her. We have no notice of other ministers who will be in attendance this morning. Even though it is not the job of the Prime Minister, but the job of the leader of the National Alliance entrusted with the task and responsibility of formateur, I would still want to make use of this opportunity to make a brief remark about the screening. Supposedly it has been reported that all was set for the swearing in of the Council of Ministers on Tuesday rather. I don't know where that information came from. Seemingly I was off island, and I don't know if it was indeed so, but someone said to me that it was reported in one of the media outlets that I said that all was set and that the swearing in would take place on Tuesday. That is incorrect. I've also seen editorials, or at least one of them, that kind of suggested that the formateur is not allowed to talk about the screening process, and therefore they would just have to guess as to what is taking place. I think it's only fair to let the public know that there is nothing, Halloweenish at least taking place where the screening is concerned. The screening is a process whereby candidate ministers are screened on their integrity, and there's another part of the screening that has to do with, let's say, them having any criminal record or if there's any investigation going against them. So the Office of the Attorney General does that judicial screening, which would basically be checking the criminal records to see if there is any, if that candidate was ever condemned for any crime committed, not only on St. Martin, but anywhere else that person may have lived. Now, of course, one could have been condemned in a country where they never lived because they passed through as a tourist and committed something, and we may never get that information, probably timely maybe, but the process is one where they search and verify whether there is a criminal record, or they would know of themselves, of course, if there's any investigation ongoing against that person, or is there any reason for information that they have to think that that person would pose a threat to the national security because of their situation. The other part of the screening has to do with a check. So you check a factual check, if I would translate it literally. There are a number of questions that each candidate minister would have to answer. All of them get the same questionnaire to fill out. There's an integrity declaration, and you have to fill out a questionnaire. The questionnaire has to do with who you are, your CV, if you're involved in any business, if you have any properties, information on bank accounts, your financial standing, etc. There's no investigation as to if somebody says, well, I have $1 million in an account, that the question would be, where did that $1 million come from? That is your business. But what you don't want to have is that you do not disclose your financial information correctly, And when the check is done, then it is revealed that you have an account in Panama, you have one in the Bahamas, you have one in Anguilla, you have one on the French side, Curacao or Aruba, on the Netherlands. Or if the question about property, if you say, well, I only have one home and the property that my home is built on, and it turns out that you have 3 or 4 other properties. That kind of information. Why is it also important for the candidate minister to submit that information? At the end of this governing period, all the ministers, all of them, including those that may return in the new cabinet, have to provide a declaration again as to their present status. So 11 months ago, we had to submit as part of our screening, this is what I have. So if, for instance, a minister said, 11 months ago, I had a mortgage on my home of $900,000. 11 months after, that mortgage is non-existent, it's wiped out, it's gone. So immediately it would raise a question as to where did that minister get $900,000 from to pay off his mortgage? Then the minister can say, well, I sold the property I had in Anguilla. But how could you sell a property in Anguilla and 9 months ago or 11 months ago you did not have a property? So that is why it is important for the protection of the individual and for the integrity of the office of a minister. What is keeping the screening process back? It's because of the files of some of the candidate ministers is more complex than others. So there are candidate ministers who have been involved or are involved in business, and they have to distance themselves from those businesses. You have to step down as shareholder, as director. And if the business, if you're a signatory to accounts at the banks for those businesses, you have to make the proper provisions to withdraw your name as a signatory, but make also proper provisions to have somebody else assigned as signatory. You just don't close the account and shut down the business, because that makes no sense either. So that is why with some of the candidates, we have had, after the initial submission of their information, additional queries had to be made as to please provide this, please provide that, please follow up with this and with that. And as long as all of the information is not in the file of that candidate minister, the screening of that candidate minister would be delayed or cannot be completed. So that is the reason why we cannot, even as I speak now, say that the swearing in will be on Monday upcoming. It is again, and I'm saying it is again, a target date for the swearing in to be on Monday, November 7th. That depends on how far we are. If the screening is not completed by Friday, I will have follow-up meetings today, and on Thursday I hope to get the reports. If I do not have the reports, then we would have to consider, postponing. Well, postponing, you're not postponing because no date has been set. We would then have to adjust our planning, because right now the planning is to hand in the final report no later than Friday in order for the swearing in of the new cabinet to be on Monday upcoming. So I hope this clears up the air somewhat and clarifies some of what is going on. We have never had a fixed date. It was always a tentative date, the first one for the 1st of November, and now the second date for the swearing in. We are looking at the 7th. If that is not possible, then it would have to be postponed. And when I said postponed, we would have to look at another target date. One of the issues that I sent out a press release on yesterday afternoon was that one pertaining to the incidents at Captain Oliver's marina. While in Miami at a conference there, I got a call that the owner of Captain Oliver's marina had been arrested by the gendarmes and was taken to the French side, and that the reason for the arrest was that there were repairs being done to the Captain Oliver's marina, and that it was in violation of building codes and regulations of the French. I immediately contacted the Préfet Délégué on the French side, Madame Anne Lubis, and when I spoke to her, I let her know that I was not happy with the developments and that I would immediately, upon my return, file an official complaint. So I've sent off a letter to her yesterday, I think it was, and I have also forwarded a copy of the letter to the Minister of Foreign Relations, Foreign Affairs, the Dutch Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Koenders, and he, of course, would then have to contact the authorities in Paris to inform them of what is taking place. The unfortunate thing is that the French have been trying now for some time to claim a portion of the Oyster Bay. It has been known ever since I was born that the whole Oyster Pond, rather, the pond at Oyster Pond where Captain Oliver's is, where you have Oyster Bay, there by the border point, that pond, all of it, ever since I know myself, that has always been Dutch territory. I even, when I was commissioner several years ago, I got an advice to give a request from someone born in Guadeloupe with French nationality residing on the French side, was requesting water rights on the Dutch side. So my initial frown was, what this is about? And when I checked it out, it turned out that it was a French citizen, indeed born in Guadeloupe, who owned a property just beyond the frontier on the French side, but wanted to build a pier for his boat, and he had to request water rights on the Dutch side. Captain Oliver's, seemingly upon purchasing the property, when he did, thought he was purchasing property on the French side, because the land is on the French side, but the water is on the Dutch side. So when he went to the French authorities, seemingly he was told that, no, you have to come to the Dutch side because the pond is owned by the Dutch. As such, he came to the Dutch side. He requested a business license, which he obtained. He requested water rights, which he obtained, and he requested a building permit for his marina, and he has been operating. He passed away, and now the owner, the new owner, continues to operate, his heirs continue to operate the marina and are paying their taxes to the Dutch side. The French have been trying to get a piece of the action, and in the discussions, when we had the quadripartite, I think in 2012, but also I think in 2014, again repeated, but at the quadripartite, which is a meeting, and the last one was held in here, you would recall, when at that time the sea border demarcation treaty was signed between the Kingdom of the Netherlands and the French Republic, and I signed on behalf of the Kingdom right here in this room. What now needs to begin are the negotiations for the land border demarcation. For years, or for several years, in recent years, the French have been trying to claim a part of the water, citing that the northern part of the pond should should be theirs or is theirs. And in order to move forward, it was agreed upon at the quadripartite that until the negotiations take place and a treaty is signed, that until such time, we will respect the status quo, meaning that the waters at Oyster Pond are Dutch, and the French would respect that and abide by that until the negotiations have been concluded. Lo and behold, the French have decided to muscle in and have arrested the lady. She has been released, but she is under threat all along. Apparently, she was asked to come to the gendarmerie in French Quarter, and she said she's not coming because you guys have illegally arrested me. I'm a citizen resident of the Dutch side, and you have arrested me on the Dutch side, taken me to the French side, so I wouldn't even want to come to the French side. So they have told her that if she doesn't come, they will come and get her. So it is unfortunate that this is happening. It completely goes against what we have stood for all these years on St. Martin, the peaceful coexistence of the people on the northern side and the people on the southern side, the people on the French part, the people on the Dutch half of the island. We have been peacefully sharing this one island. We have never had to build a wall like some would want to do in the 21st century in some other countries, but we have never had to build a wall to keep the people from one side over on the other side. We've always had free movement of goods and people, but this is now, destroying that peaceful coexistence that we have had. So in my letter, I asked very strongly that they adhere to the agreement that we have, that they remove the barricades that they have put. They have actually removed a part from the crane that is there. They have barricaded the entrance to the marina. The people are losing business. The operations of their business is hampered. They have an event coming up in the next couple of days. That too is being jeopardized, and people who are now have their boats tied at the marina, a makeshift pier got to be sort of put in place so people can access it, because they have blocked and illegally blocked the entrance to it. So we have called upon them to remove it. It doesn't appear that they have done so as yet. I did not go there to verify, but I would not want this to become a situation where there's a standoff between the gendarmes on one end and the police, or the Dutch authorities on the other end. I hope that The Hague and Paris takes this for what it is. For me, it is a serious offense and has to be addressed immediately to avoid any further escalation. This is not how good neighbors treat each other. This is not how good neighbors deal with each other, because it is not so that the gendarmes have arrested somebody who was on the French side. You came over on the Dutch side, arrested somebody and take them over to the French side, and you're claiming property that is not yours and behaving as if the property is yours. So it's, as I said, it's something serious, and I hope that the authorities both in Paris and in The Hague will take this seriously. I have a document in my possession issued by the cadastre on the French side, which I think it was a document that was issued in 2012, which is a map of the Oyster Bay, Oyster Pond area, and it clearly shows that the land is French at a certain, by the border, and that all the water is Dutch. This is not a document fabricated by me. It's a copy of a document that I've obtained, issued by the cadastre on the French side. There are enough, there have been court cases, and in the court cases, it is constantly cited that where the marina is located is Dutch territory. So that there is a change of heart now on the part of whoever I do not know, but they're using, interestingly, the Treaty of Concordia to lay claim to a portion of it, and some other treaty of Barcelona, the treaty of some other treaty, where it is stated that if you have a situation like at Oyster Pond, where a water separates two countries, that the border will be considered the center line between the two, unless otherwise agreed upon. And seemingly they are ignoring, or they haven't read that portion. It is not something that we are establishing now. It is something that has been so for many, many, many years. There is a borderline. There is a border, and the border clearly separates delineates that all the water is on the Dutch side, and that is how we intend to keep it. That is how we intend to treat it until we have concluded the negotiations to that effect and a treaty is signed off upon. So I'm looking at the time. I will end here. I will take any questions that you may have, and as I've indicated, Minister Jacobs will be coming in the next few minutes.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister, for your opening presentation this morning. If you're just joining us, you're viewing the Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, November 2nd, 2016. I'd like to open the floor for any questions the media might have. Bibi Shaw, SMN News Online, you have the floor.
Thank you, Cedric. Good morning, Prime Minister. I took note of your both statements. I will not even go into the questions of the formation or the swearing of ministers, because personally I never knew of any announcement made as to when ministers are going to be sworn in. But I will go into the Captain Oliver's case. I have a vast amount of documentation and knowledge on this case. I knew of all the court cases that are taking place both on the French and Dutch sides. I believe up until today the owners are still being in question because court cases are still ongoing. With regards to the marina that I know also belongs to the Dutch side, one of the things that has happened over the years, there's absolutely no customs, no immigration, or no type of control. Did the French at any point in time indicate that they are concerned about what takes place at this marina, what is entering this country? Did they indicate at any time that is the reason, or for any reason they're trying to take back this marina?
Not to my knowledge. I personally have no indication of same. There's no indication. This arrest is made on the basis of repairs that were being done to the marina. A crane was stationed there, removing the planks at the top of the boardwalk, like at the marina, and they were replacing parts of it. So the French have cited that the manner in which it was being done is against their environmental laws, it's against their regulations, and that's what they have used to arrest the lady. Whether the regulations are in conflict with French norms or not, that is besides the point. And even if they are concerned about possible fraudulent things that take place at the marina, they cannot unilaterally decide to step in and take action. So it is something that is illegal. It is clear that they are trying to use the marina to carry out their agenda in obtaining control over the northern part of the lagoon, of the pond, which is unacceptable and which flies in the face of agreements that we already have.
Has the Dutch been considering placing any type of control, for example, the PAF, customs, at Captain Oliver's? It's been an open sepulchre for years.
I have, in meetings of the Council of Ministers, indicate to the Minister of Justice, the present Minister of Justice, that, you know, he should look into placing customs at the marina. The awkward thing, and I'm saying it's not awkward, because we have, you know, we have all kind of boats that the Coast Guards and the police or whatever own. So if you want to board at Oyster Bay and come across there, that is your good right. You don't have to go through the French territory to avoid each time having to ask permission to cross over with your service revolvers or in executing your duties or whatnot. So it is something that I have advised the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Justice to look into, but to my knowledge, it has not yet happened.
All right, Prime Minister, do you know just next to the marina and the restaurant owned by Captain Oliver's, there is a hotel on the land belonging to the French side? And do you know that this lady that claims that she was arrested, or if she was arrested on the Dutch side, also stepped boundary on the French side and was constructing tanks and doing all sort of things on French land without any kind of business, any kind of paper from the Vormi? Did you know about this?
If that is the case, I do not know, and if it's the case, that is none of my business. The land is on the French side, so whatever anybody does on the French side is outside of my jurisdiction of judgment and anything else. I even if I have an opinion about something, it's my opinion. It's not to be shared with anybody because it's none of my business.